I still have it. Take a tour of a hidden cove that not many people know about with a skinny dipping hippie. I don't know about you, but it sounds a little murdery to me. But if you know me, you know I'm overly polite most of the time. I nodded appreciatively. When there was a logical break in the discussion, I asked him if there were any cultural things I should know, or there social customs that I should be made aware of. His answer? Native Hawaiians are so lazy, he said. If you want something done in a timely manner, don't ask a Hawaiian. They're also very wary of outsiders, very rude at times, so be careful. Rather than point out how obscenely racist this comment was, I ended the conversation and went back to trying to breathe through my clogged nose. As we were landing in Kauai, unclogging my ears with the tried and true method of gum chewing and obnoxious fake yawning, I realized that one ear was not going to unclog. And as we were descending, the pressure was so painful it felt like my eardrum was going to rupture. Looking back, it's very reminiscent of what it's like listening to One Direction. Oh, I went there. For 2 days, that ear didn't unclog, but that was just the start of my troubles that Hawaii had for me. The first full day under the beautiful Hawaiian sun, my wife and I went down to one of the resort's many pools. We stayed there for about 3.5 hours, drinking our drinks, hopping in the pool every now and then, and talking football with a guy from Jersey. After we had our fill of the pool, we went back up to the room to change and head out to see Kauai in all its glory. As I was getting ready with my fancy salmon-colored shorts, because I'm always dressed to impress, I started feeling a curious tingling and burning sensation in my legs, as if they were embarrassed all of a sudden. It was at this time that I said aloha to comfort and aloha to the burning hellfires of the Hawaiian sun that torment your soul for all eternity. The sun in Hawaii is a sneaky beast, young ones. Lounging on a chair in perfect 80-degree weather, no humidity and a strong breeze, you tend to forget your worries. And sunscreen, in my case. My legs were red. They were lobster legs. I am so pasty and pale that my legs, minus the leg hair, look like Two-Face from The Dark Knight. Why was your entire leg not red, Dawson? You might be asking. Well, because in my lounging on the fancy deck chairs, I rested my leg over my other leg. So, there was one white side and one red side on each leg. So whatever, sunburn. I've had that before, couldn't be that bad, right? Sitting at lunch, me eating a plain burger and my wife eating a gross kale salad, I started feeling an itch on my ring finger. To make things worse, I discovered that my ring was a lot more stubborn than it usually was. That's because when I managed to pry my ring off, my finger swollen and pulsing, I discovered a red, scaly ring of skin where my ring should go. So, not only am I allergic to sun, but I'm also evidently allergic to marriage. So, to recap, bad cold, one clogged ear, scalded legs, and combo leprosy ringworm virus on my finger. It was just a heat rash, relax. After going to the hotel store to stock up on aloe, cortisone cream, cold meds, and solar cane, which is spray aloe, found that out, I'm sure the cashier didn't know what the hell was wrong with me. When I tilted my head down to eat my dinner later on that night, I could feel fluid swishing around up there. My hearing went from clear as day to Charlie Brown's teacher in a second. My wife asked me, "Are you okay?" But with the cranial aquarium going on, it was more like, "Are you okay?" This is bad, I thought. The closest place to get this taken care of? Kauai Urgent Care, the next day. Kauai is a large island, but it only has one main road, which curves nearly all the way around the island. Think of it like a giant horseshoe. The roads don't connect, though. So if you want to go over here, start driving. If you want to go from here to here, enjoy driving the loop-de-loop all the way around. It takes around 3 hours to go all the way around on a good day. While a pain, the road allowed us to see every aspect of Kauai. We couldn't take a shortcut past the colossal green mountains, couldn't zoom past the shaved ice stands, and we couldn't avoid seeing the Kauai that you don't see in the catalogs. We saw the rundown shacks, the dirt floors, cracked windows, and stray dogs that Kauai has. Many parts of Kauai and other Hawaiian islands, for that matter, are stricken by poverty. And we in our rental car leaving our resort with open bar, cabana tents, valet service, etc., would have never known it was there. Some people spend their morning drinking coffee and reading the paper. Some take a nice walk. We spent it strolling into an immediate care where the first two sounds that greeted us were the TV hanging in the corner with Maury telling some guy that he was not the father, and the straining, desperate half-yakking of a woman trying to keep her breakfast down. You know that sound? That like half throw up? That's the worst sound ever. What a honeymoon. Off to a great start. The nurse that eventually helped us said that the doctor that would be helping me was, quote, one of the best. In my mind's eye, I picture one of the best doctors being some man or woman in perfectly tailored scrubs, brandishing their stainless steel medical tools and showing off their plethora of medical degrees. Help was on the way, folks. Nowhere to go but up from here. And then the door opened. What did I get instead? How should I describe it? If "Sa dude" was a person, it would be this person. He was the human version of Crush the Sea Turtle from Finding Nemo. He was like Art the airport dude, except not as leathery. It seemed like he was constantly 10 seconds away from saying, "Cuckoo, choo, find your way back to the big old blue." He also spouted random pidgin words. Pidgin is the Hawaiian slang dialect. During the exam, after every statement, I'm not even kidding, from me, or question he answered, he threw up the hang 10 sign and yelled out, "Shoots, brah!" Which is the pidgin equivalent of "okay," or "cool," or "sure thing," or "I concur, young fellow with the candy cane legs." After examining my legs, his expert input was, "Yeah, you got some sunburn there, eh? It happens when you're in the sun for too long, eh? If you don't put sunscreen on, the sun can burn your legs, giving you the redness, eh?" "Thanks, Doc. Here's my $85. I struggled to not look at him and tell him that in Illinois, we too have a sun. And if we don't wear sunscreen, we too shall burn. Eh? But he had access to antibiotics to take care of my newly discovered ear infection, so I had to watch the lip. After receiving the prescription, we drove to the pharmacy, which was 5 seconds behind the facility we were just in. Walking in, it wasn't like the pharmacies we're used to. It wasn't the well-lit, gleaming shelves of Walgreens. There weren't pill counters and fancy sticks to separate all the pills. It was a 20-something girl behind a plastic sliding window holding a big bottle with a tape label across it that said amoxicillin. She was the pill counter, shaking the pills out onto a platform and sifting through them with her fingertip. As I was about to get even more frustrated at this situation, I spotted a sign that said, "As per Hawaii state law, all pharmacies must present similar lower-priced, non-name brand equivalent medicines to patients." And it struck me the mainlander as one of the best images that I could see at that moment. Here was an island that was one of the biggest contradictions. Exorbitantly priced resorts and a beautiful environment compared to its rough economy and lower income areas. To be fair, I've never looked for these signs in mainland pharmacies. They very well could be there. But I love that at the time, the focus, for once, wasn't on money. It was on the people who needed help. Even stupid white boys with heat rash, a cold, 2 sunburned legs, and an ear infection. And then I remembered, when we were first taking off for Kauai, we sat next to a young lady sitting cross-legged on the airplane seat. She took her headphones off and asked us if we lived in Kauai. We said no. She was a college student coming home after traveling abroad. She worked at a place called Chicken in a Barrel, which is exactly what it sounds like. Food barbecued in 50-gallon drums. We showed her our travel guide, dog-eared with all the places that we should go to. The girl opened the book, flipped through it, and politely said, "Nah, that restaurant's overpriced and the food isn't that good. You guys should come to Chicken in a Barrel." She also said that instead of those resort restaurants with $50 steaks, $15 glasses of wine, we instead try spam asubi, which is real Hawaiian food. Fried spam, rice, wrapped in a seaweed wrapper. This Hawaiian girl wasn't lazy. She wasn't rude. She took the time out of her life to help us. This, contrary to hippie skinny dipper, was the real Hawaii. Then we pointed to Art, sitting 10 rows up, and told her what he said about Hawaiians not trusting foreigners. "Well, yeah," she said, "when you do what guys like him do, buy up real estate, act like you're a native, and don't get to really know Hawaii, of course people won't trust you. The rest of that trip, as I popped the pills of nondescript antibiotics and snorted off-brand nasal spray, I recovered, fixed everything, and I didn't need the words Dayquil to do it. And flying home from that trip made me realize that in some cases, the off-brand option, whether it be medicine or street food, is sometimes more unique and meaningful than the name brands that life gives us. Thank you. And up next is Mrs. Harding.
Hi, everyone. Before I get started, I just want to thank my students who have been beyond encouraging of me being here today, and to my athletes who have been part of my journey that I'm about to share with you today. How is your mom doing? It is a question that I often get asked because I know people care, but it is a question I do not know how to answer. I wonder if people want the simple answer or the truth. Several years back, my mom started to struggle with her memory. She had multiple tests done, and the doctors concluded that she had depression, and the lack of sleep was causing her memory loss. But as time went by, she was getting worse. It came to the point where she couldn't make a frozen pizza. She couldn't follow the directions, and/or she would forget that the pizza was even in the oven. We decided that she needed to be tested again, and in March of 2014, we received her test results. She was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. How could this be possible? One often expects grandparents, but this was my 58-year-old mom. It was different. She was the one who helped me pick out my outfits for dates, held my hand through all my doctor's appointments and hospital visits while growing up. Her and I fought relentlessly about the stupidest things until I went away to college, where we became best friends. But here I was realizing that the majority of my life I spent arguing with her, and now I was afraid that someday she would not remember who I was. The next morning, while my mind was distracted by sadness, I pulled out of my garage and took my side view mirror right off. Alzheimer's has a mind of its own and will progress as fast or slow as it likes. Unfortunately, my mom's brain hasn't quite been up for the fight. In June of 2014, we slowly had to start taking away her independence. She was no longer allowed to drive after I drove around one night looking for her when she got lost. I eventually had to call 911 to ping her cell phone. 4 squad cars showed up to find her. My mom was both horrified and humiliated. As a family, we soon realized that she could no longer make decisions on her own, so my dad, my mom, and I went to the lawyers and put me down as the power of attorney for financial and health decisions if my dad was to pass first. My mom sat right next to me and just signed each paper I gave her. She trusted me, not realizing that we were stripping her more of her independence. Somewhere through all of this, my aunt, her sister, was also diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. Wow. What does this mean for my sister, my 2 cousins, and myself? We started researching and found that only 2% of all Alzheimer's cases are familial, which means that if you have this particular gene, it is not a matter of if you will get Alzheimer's, it is only a matter of when. Worse, if an individual in the family has a gene, he or she has a 50% chance of passing it on. What does that mean for my nieces and nephews? The fact that we were now in the 3rd generation of early onset and 2 siblings were diagnosed meant the chances of the gene being in my family just skyrocketed. The 4 of us started to throw around the idea of genetic testing. At that time, I was the only one who wanted to get tested. I thought to myself, if I have the gene, put me in trials, run tests on me so that other families hopefully will not have to suffer like mine. Problem is, you are basically signing up to find out that you have a disease that currently has no cure. I asked my husband one night, do you still want to be married to me if we find out I have the gene? I could start showing symptoms in 10 to 15 years. Do you really want to be married to someone that might forget who you are, could be mean to you every day, could forget how to eat someday? Yes, in our vows we said in sickness and in health, but is this what you really signed up for? In the meantime, my dad's world was crashing around him. His wife of over 35 years was deteriorating right before our eyes. On our annual vacation that we take right before school starts, I could tell something was wrong. He finally decided to tell me the truth. He started drinking again after 30 years of being sober. At a young age, he was becoming an alcoholic and decided to put his family first and stop drinking. Well, that family was starting to become something he did not envision. He said to me, "You, of all people, I thought would have noticed." Seriously? How do you ask someone if they've been drinking again after 30 years of being sober? He then followed it up with, "Do not tell your sister, and could you go make me a drink?" As the school year started, I was not in a good place. I barely could make it through the day. One night, a friend of mine, whose mom passed away tragically 4 years ago, said to me, "Tracy, I do not know if I would have been strong enough to watch my mother disappear slowly, which is probably why she was taken so quickly. I wanted to remind you that you are incredibly strong. Forget that. Take the strength or give it to someone else if that means that I could have my mom back and that my dad would stop drinking. I don't want it." I was quickly finding I did not know how to be strong anymore. As 2014 came to a close, we were hit with more. The doctors didn't think my grandpa would make it to Christmas. My uncle had emergency triple bypass surgery. And the best man in our wedding died of a drug overdose. I was not ready to take on any more punches, but one more found its way. I had not been myself for quite some time, and unfortunately, my actions were hurting others. I found it difficult to be around others and to fulfill my responsibilities. The only thing I wanted to do was get out of here and not come back. I didn't know how to be me anymore. As 2015 began, I finally started taking time for myself to grieve. I had to work through my anger and sadness. And thanks to the love and support of some amazing people in my life, I finally started to heal. Alzheimer's is a loss. Yes, the person is physically there, but mentally is not. The little things we take for granted, my mom can no longer do. She has forgotten how to use a cell phone, how to wash her hair, how to change her clothes, how to brush her teeth. And just the other day, I saw her have a full-on conversation with a stuffed elephant named Teddy. I have learned how to accept that this is our new reality, but I am terrified of the day she will forget who I am. I have to believe, though, that she will always remember me in her heart. Regardless of who she becomes, she will always be my mom. She will never be the person I knew, but I have to continue to find new ways to love her. Alzheimer's is a topic that until recently has not been discussed in the public. It is hard to talk about something that we currently cannot fix. As human beings, we are trained to find the answers and to always fix what is wrong. But with Alzheimer's, we can't. When people are struggling, we often tell them, "Hang in there, things will get better." But with Alzheimer's, they don't. It took me almost 2 years to grieve for my mom. A year ago, I have not been able to stand in front of you because Alzheimer's was controlling my life. It was the root of everything. I was not able to face other obstacles in my life because Alzheimer's consumed all of my energy. Just talking about it would ruin my day. But I stand before you today as someone who is no longer afraid to talk about Alzheimer's. I have learned that we have to accept that they are no longer living in our world, but we have to learn how to live in theirs. Sure, I still have my moments when I am sad and just want to call my mom to tell her about my day. But that's the thing. They are just moments instead of days. Alzheimer's teaches you to appreciate the relationships in your life and the little things we take for granted. It teaches you how to live in the moment. And for that, I will always be grateful for my experiences over the past 2 years. Thank you for allowing me to share this with you today. And always remember to be kind to others, for you never know what they are going through. Always act from your heart, and always know you are never alone in your journey. Thank you. Mr. Hoagley.
I don't know how I can follow that. I'll try. Tech guys, is there a clicker for the Google show? Okay. All right, you got it. Hello, everybody. Even a gym teacher writes. So before I start, I just wanted to share reasons why I write. And this is my 5th year speaking at Writers Week. So I write to clear my mind. I write to document. I journal things. And then also just for laughs. I have been writing to my daughters, Maddie and Kayla, who are 5 and 3. I promised I would say hello to them, but I want to have your help. So if I point to you guys are going to say hi. And I'm going to point to you guys are going to say Maddie. And I'm going to point to you guys, you're going to say Kayla. You think we can do this real quick? Because they're watching at home on the stream. Ready? Here we go. Ready? Hi. Not good enough. Oh, thank you very much. They're going crazy at home. So. All right, but I've been writing to them since the day they were born. I have about 17, 18 pages now of stuff, just stuff going on in their lives. Every about 3 months I write to them, and sometimes I share, and they're just not old enough, but someday I'm going to share that with them, and I'm looking forward to that. So, quick. 8 years ago, I went through a bout with cancer. That's how my journey here through Writers Week started. I was asked to share the chemo journals that I wrote, and that was another reason I was writing. And go ahead. All right, and now to the meat and potatoes, stories of the ghosts. You can go ahead to the next one. You can't. Can we adjust the lights a little bit? Or no, I'm really being high maintenance, I'm sorry. While you guys are doing that, I'll start. So, I never met my brother Jeff, but someday I will. 10 months before I was born, Jeff passed away at the age of 5 after a battle with leukemia. All I know about Jeff is that my entire family said we looked alike. We were both 8 pounds, 10 ounces. We were both 22 inches long. Both had blue hair, blonde hair, or blue eyes and blonde hair at birth. It never really hit me that until I was about 20 years old, that I was born into a family that had just lost their first son less than a year before my birth. What I do know is that there is no doubt that he is always around me. As I grew older and older, I was very interested in finding more and more about my brother. Jeff died on September 11th, 1979. 6 weeks later, which would have been Jeff's 6th birthday, on October 27th, 1979, I was conceived. Now, for those of you that do not know what conceived means, that's the day my dad got lucky. Yep. The thought of my parents having sex still makes me throw up a little bit. What was that sound, Mr.? Yeah. Nonetheless, the fact that I was created on my brother's birthday of October 27th is the foundation of our connection. Next slide. 6218 Grand Avenue, Downers Grove, Illinois. This is the house that I grew up in, and also the house that Jeff closed his eyes for the last time. Growing up, his death was understandably pretty taboo in our house. I was always curious about him and wanted to learn, but never wanted to ask. The best way to gain intel was to head into our basement where the photo albums were kept. I would flip through the albums of my older sisters and would make my way over to Jeff's. Like clockwork, I would begin to get spooked and feel as if someone was there with me. The hair on the back of my neck would stand tall, and I would often get goosebumps on my arms. Back then, I handled the situation as any 5-year-old would. I dropped the book and got the hell out of the basement as fast as possible. Looking back on these sensations, I now laugh as those same feelings occur in every one of these stories that I'm about to share with you. It's Jeff saying hello. Next slide. This one's Story of the Ghost. In the late 1990s, towards the end of high school, my friends and I started to listen to the band called Fish, which became my favorite band. We went to a few concerts here and there and often had Fish playing on a Discman, hooked up to a cassette tape to play through the car. Students, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Teachers, you sure do. One of my favorite tracks is called Ghost. Ghost debuted in June of 1997. Ironically, the album Story of the Ghost was released 16 months later in October 1998. Anyone want to take a guess at the date? Yep, Jeff's birthday, October 27th. Through the years, this song has randomly played on Jeff's birthday at our house, and the band also played it when I took my wife to her first Fish concert, which was coincidentally my mom's birthday. Next slide. 7-9 of Hearts. My friend Nate and I have been friends for nearly 30 years. It was at Nate's house that the 7-9 of Hearts came alive. The number 79 has always made me think of Jeff, as that was the year of his death. It was 2004, and I was student teaching at the time. Texas Hold'em poker was gaining in popularity, and we often played at friends' houses. Nate hosted a tournament that night. After playing for a couple of hours, I looked down at the 2 cards I was dealt, 7-9 of Hearts. To speed up the story, as I have limited time today, the last card dealt was a 7 of diamonds to complete a full house and ultimately win my first big poker tournament. Crazy part is that when that 7 of diamonds hit the felt of the card table, the power surged in Nate's house. The lights went off and came right back on. I had no explanation. I looked down at my arm, goosebumps like 1985. I still can't figure out what exact connection with Jeff and Nate's family is, but when I look back, there are a few other connections. We used to carpool to our Pee-wee football practices and games. When they would pull into our driveway, my mom would always say, "I like when you were with them." It had to do with their license plates. Next slide. Heavens Above was his mom's license plate. 7 years after the poker game, Nate got married and now has 2 kids. His wedding date, next slide. Yep, October 27th. Next slide, excuse me. Some of you may have not aware, like I mentioned, I had my own bout with cancer. In 2007, I was diagnosed with testicular cancer. Luckily, this time, the Hogre family evened the score with the disease, and this April, I'll be cancer-free for 8 years. I will never forget driving with my wife to learn the results of my biopsy. We were going to learn if indeed I had cancer. We entered the office, signed in, and proceeded to sit down in the waiting area. It was no more than 30 seconds later, she leaned over the desk and yelled out, "Excuse me, Jeff?" She looked back down at her clipboard. "I'm sorry, I mean Jason. Do you have a copay with your insurance?" Lynn and I looked at each other with our jaws dropped. Goosebumps like 1985. 20 minutes later, I learned in Dr. Troy's office that he informed me I did indeed have cancer. Next slide. I'm with you. 2 weeks later, I began chemotherapy. I wanted to kick cancer in the ball and keep going. My first day was at Lexian Brothers in Elk Grove Village. Mom was the first one there. I could see through her body language that this was bringing back bad memories for her as she was about to witness her second son endure chemotherapy. Mom entered the room, had a big smile on her face, and told me not to worry as we sat there watching TV, waiting for the nurse to get me started. She said Jeff was with her on the way up as she felt his presence. This was very unlike her, rather, as she never said anything like this. But I told her that was good to hear. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was on the TV at the time. We played along to pass the time. Lo and behold, a contestant needed help with a question. "I'm going to phone a friend," he said. Regis Philbin, who was the host back in the day, said, "Okay, great, who are we going to call?" He said, "I'm going to call my brother Jeff." Goosebumps like 1985. Next slide. 40 on the 40, October 26, 2013. We went out to dinner, so I grabbed 2 $20 bills on our way out of the house. Soon realized I didn't have the money. Lynn and I looked everywhere, retracing my steps inside and out of the house. I was not a happy camper, but managed to carry on with the night, down a testicle and $40. The next morning, on Sunday, October 27th, we had breakfast and coffee and had a random playlist playing in the house. Over 150 songs on that playlist, but of course, Ghosts came on. Goosebumps like 1985. We laughed and said happy birthday to Jeff. We continued our search inside and out looking for my lost cash. I was heading to the city to watch some football that day with some friends. I backed my car to the driveway and was halfway down the street when I realized that I forgot something. I pulled in the driveway and opened the garage door. At the same time the garage door was lifting, I saw Lynn entering the garage from inside the house. I exited the car and I was stopped in my tracks. "Holy crap, Lynn. Look, there's my $40. Next to a flower pot was 2 $20 bills. I said, "There's my $40. It's Jeff's 40th birthday." Goosebumps like 1985. I never met my brother, but someday I will. Next slide. So I started to document all of these different connections and happenings that I've had, and I've read you a few. There are over 25 of them, and we've got a couple minutes here, so I'll share a couple others. So this bear's lamp here, go ahead. This bear's lamp is in my garage, and the bear's lamp goes on by itself all the time. Most recently, it went on September 11th, the day he died. I came out to go to school, it was on. Another hello. It was on then on November 17th, which was my wife's birthday. Just saying happy birthday. This bear's lamp, we figured out, was in my room growing up. It was also in Jeff's room that I took over as I grew up. Go ahead, next one. This was just on a vacation, stopped at a little gas station store. Just a hello that he's always next to me. Jason and Jeff next to each other. Go ahead, next one. October 27th this past year, we had over, let's say, signs of spirits. Often the light bulbs will be out around your house. I pulled back into the house after football practice. Our light was outside the house. I walked in, and my daughter Kayla said she gave me she wanted me to have a cookie. I just had traditional goosebumps like 1985. And go ahead. Back in the waiting room, the last two here, I had some follow-up stuff that I had to do that was really stressing me out here this past few months. So I had to get a couple tests done. Really stressed out about this stuff. It was me and just one other gentleman sitting in a waiting room, just like the other story I told you. A woman came out, called that gentleman to go ahead and take care of his procedure. What was his name? Yeah. Go ahead. And then Good Shepherd Hospital, I was getting a procedure where they had to knock me out and check out my stomachs and a few cysts I had. And the woman said, was asking me about my kids, and I said, yes, I have a daughter, Kayla. Her birthday's coming up here in October. And she said, oh, cool, my son was born in October. I said, when? She said, October 27th. And then go ahead, the last one. And then I said I never met my brother. So this is what we joke with. This is my daughter, Kayla, on the right, Jeff on the left. So we call that the angel on the left and the devil on the right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, 8th Hour, and one more round of applause for our brave and courageous teachers.
All the times that you ain't enough for me, and all the clubs you get in using my name. You think you broke my heart, oh girl, for goodness sake. You think I'm crying on my own while I ain't. And I didn't wanna write a song, 'cause I